This is one of those situations when you lost but still won. I'm grateful for last night. No regrets to get in ring one last time. I almost died in June. Had 8 blood transfusions, lost half my blood and 25 pounds in hospital, and had to fight to get healthy to fight, so I won. To have my children see me stand toe-to-toe and finish 8 rounds with a talented fighter half my age in front of a packed Dallas Cowboy Stadium is an experience that no man has the right to ask for. Thank you.
He actually outboxed the boxer. Jake Paul outboxed Mike Tyson like he said he was going to do. Did you not? Like every single round.
No, and yeah, like what do people say? Like I told everyone what I was going to do is to give him a...
What's the first thing you think of when you hear the name Mike Tyson? Power, speed, dominance, right? Now being put to the test under the harshest conditions against a younger opponent while Tyson's body was betraying him from the inside. That's exactly what happened when Mike Tyson stepped into the ring to face Jake Paul. But this wasn't just another celebrity fight. It turned into something far bigger, far more controversial, and far more shocking than anyone could have predicted. After the fight, Tyson revealed something that shook everyone to the core. He almost didn't make it to fight night, not because of age, not because of lack of preparation, but because his body was failing him in ways that no one expected. He lost 25 pounds leading up to the fight and admitted he had faced a life-threatening condition before even lacing up his gloves.
I think Jake was hurting Mike repeatedly, and he just got to a point where he thought, you know what, I've cooked him, I've slow cooked him here, and the distance was in sight, and I think he just thought, you know what, I'm going to let him see the end of this. I'm not really going to give him credit for that, because, you know, you've just beaten up a fucking 58-year-old. What am I going to do? Give you credit because you didn't do it that badly? Like, it's not really that honourable, but I was pleased that Mike Tyson seen the fucking final bell, because just for his own manly pride, you know what I mean, to say, yeah, I fucking stayed in there with him, I didn't go down, and I tried.
Why did Tyson still take the fight? Why did Jake Paul agree to go on knowing Tyson's condition? Was it bravery or something more complicated? Let's break down every detail, every revelation, and every moment of this unforgettable chapter in Mike Tyson's legacy. When the fight was over, Tyson's post-fight words weren't about strategy or technique. They were about survival. He admitted to something no one saw coming. Before the fight, he almost died. He didn't go into specific medical details, but what he did share was enough to paint a chilling picture. Tyson mentioned losing 25 pounds in the weeks leading up to the fight, which for a man of his stature is alarming.
Mike, how is your health? You obviously had the health scare.
I'm just fine, brother. I'm just...
The weight loss wasn't about cutting for performance, it was a byproduct of something far more sinister. Tyson said he had been battling a severe health issue, one so dangerous that it put his life at risk. Despite this, he chose to stay quiet, not letting his opponent, the public, or even some of his team know just how dire things were. It raises a big question. Why did he stay silent? Was it pride, a desire to protect his legendary image, or simply the mindset of a fighter who doesn't back down?
You know, I was just like, okay, he's not really engaging back. And so I don't know if he's tired or whatever. And I could just tell, you know, his age was showing a little bit. And I just have so much respect for him. And that like violence war thing between us, like after he slapped me, I wanted to, you know, be aggressive and take him down and knock him out and all that stuff. But that kind of went away as the...
Fans were stunned. The idea that one of the greatest boxers of all time would risk his life to step into the ring was hard to process. Many questioned why the fight wasn't postponed. Did Tyson's team underestimate his condition? Or did the business side of boxing push the match forward regardless of the risks? Whatever the reason, Tyson's revelation added an entirely new layer to the fight and to his legacy.
Do you feel Mike's power at all?
No.
He hit you with one, and you gave him the tongue.
I only because the crowd like got turned up, but it didn't actually hurt. But I mean, no one's punches have like really hurt. I got buzzed a little bit against Tommy Fury, but that's about it.
Training for a fight is tough under normal circumstances. For Tyson, it was a nightmare. His health issues weren't just a setback, they were an obstacle that could have ended his career right there. Yet against all odds, he trained. He showed up at the gym, pushed through the pain, and did what he could to prepare for Jake Paul. Tyson's camp had to make significant adjustments. The typical high-intensity sessions were scaled back. Recovery time between workouts was increased. Some days, just getting through basic drills was considered a win. And yet, by the time fight night rolled around, Tyson looked sharp. He wasn't the Tyson of the 1980s, but he was still in remarkable shape for a man in his late 50s, especially one coming off such severe health challenges. But this leads to another big question. Should he have fought at all?
Listen, nostalgia made us feel like maybe we'll get a Mike Tyson, just, do something against Jake Paul. But 58 is 58. The guy's almost 60, fighting a 27-year-old lad. Literally, in a ring where we all knew what was going to happen. Jake was going to run around, give him a couple jabs, and win comfortably. Fair play to Jake. Someone's saying he could have knocked out Tyson, but he took it easy, just out of respect. But it don't matter. You shouldn't have been in the ring with him in the first place then. Because what you're doing, you're showing that you're scamming everyone.
While Tyson's determination is admirable, it's hard to ignore the risks he took. Was he putting his legacy on the line, or was he trying to prove something to himself after decades of being seen as indestructible? Whatever the answer, it's clear that his preparation was nothing short of heroic, even if it wasn't enough to secure a win. Jake Paul came into this fight knowing it was a golden opportunity. He wasn't just fighting anyone, he was fighting Mike Tyson, a name that carries more weight than most world champions. But fans quickly turned on Paul when they learned about Tyson's health issues. The idea that Paul would go ahead with the fight despite knowing Tyson's condition didn't sit well with many. Initially, Paul's team dismissed Tyson's issues as minor. They claimed it was an ulcer flare-up, nothing serious. But as more details came to light, it became clear that Tyson was far from 100%. Paul's decision to proceed felt opportunistic to many. It wasn't just about winning, it was about taking advantage of a weakened opponent to boost his own credibility in the sport.
Although the writing was on the wall for me when I saw Mike Tyson walking towards the ring down the walkway, and it looked like his knee buckled. I was worried for him from then. But Jake Paul really didn't do anything to worry me. Like, considering this is a Jake Paul that tries to claim he will one day be world champion and that he would have beaten Mike Tyson in his prime, you are way off it, mate. You are way off it. But the majority of the time, Jake Paul's been fighting UFC fighters and YouTubers. And I think he's probably faced about 3 professional boxers in his whole entire career. And they are either below average or...
Fans took to social media to express their disappointment. Some accused Paul of lacking sportsmanship, while others said it was a new low for boxing. For many, it wasn't just about the fight, it was about respect. Fighting a legend is one thing. Doing so when that legend is clearly compromised is another. Paul may have walked away with a win, but in the eyes of many, it came at the cost of his reputation. Mike Tyson didn't just face health challenges leading up to the fight, he also suffered a serious knee injury during training camp. In the post-fight interview, Tyson revealed this almost casually, as if it wasn't a big deal. But for anyone familiar with boxing, this was a massive hurdle. Tyson's style has always relied heavily on mobility, balance, and explosive power. An injured knee meant he couldn't move, pivot, or generate force like he normally would. This injury impacted everything: training routines, sparring sessions, and even his confidence. Tyson's team reportedly had to restructure his entire camp around this limitation. Long sparring sessions were cut short, movement drills were scaled back to avoid aggravating the injury, and yet Tyson still managed to show up looking like he was ready for war.
Mike Tyson got in there and he looked every day of 58 years old. He looked like an old man that couldn't do anything. What happened to the Mike Tyson that was throwing all the punches on the pads and the body bag and the bag work that he was doing and the clips on the build-up? Like, you just feel like he couldn't get anything going. Did he hold back himself? Did Mike Tyson not really try? Did he get in there and follow a script? Well, don't actually hit Jake Paul on the chin with a big shot, because you might just knock him out and ruin the whole fucking script and ruin the whole Jake Paul story, the big con.
When you watch the fight, you can see moments where the injury clearly held him back. There were times when Tyson hesitated, where his footwork wasn't as sharp, or where he couldn't close the distance like he used to. But here's the thing about Tyson: he didn't complain. He didn't use the injury as an excuse. For him, it was just another obstacle to overcome. Fans have been debating whether the injury was a deciding factor in the fight. Could Tyson have performed better if he were fully healthy? Would the fight have gone differently? These are questions we'll never truly know the answers to. What we do know is this: even with a bad knee, Tyson proved he still had the heart of a champion.
I want to know how much Mike Tyson got paid for that fight, because he gave his legacy away for Jake Paul to make a name for himself. Jake Paul wins against another old man. The most rigged thing I've seen in a long time. Bro, Mike Tyson got paid millions of pounds just to walk in every round. Land no punches, throw no punches, nothing. Just walk around. Oh my.
Mike Tyson's performance in the ring that night was a masterclass in grit and determination. At 57 years old, with a body battered by decades of fighting and recent health setbacks, Tyson stepped into the ring against Jake Paul, a man nearly half his age in peak physical condition. It wasn't an even playing field by any stretch, but Tyson didn't care. He was there to fight, plain and simple. From the opening bell, it was clear that Tyson wasn't just facing Jake Paul, he was battling his own body. His movements were slower, his punches didn't have the same snap, and his stamina was visibly compromised. But what he lacked in physicality, he made up for with sheer willpower. Every time Paul landed a punch, Tyson absorbed it and kept coming forward. He refused to be intimidated, refused to back down.
The reason I'm not talking about the fight, because there's nothing to really talk about. The fight was absolutely hopeless. It was terrible. Let's get into the fight. Jake Paul was behind his jab having a look, not closing the gap, not closing that distance. And Mike Tyson is not fit enough or young enough or fast enough on his feet to close that gap. So whenever Mike Tyson tried to get a little bit close to him, and he didn't try that hard, Tyson looked like he just took his time, but he's 58 years old, what do you expect? But every time he did try and close the gap, Jake Paul backed off, got behind his jab, he threw a couple of shots in there, he did throw a couple of big swings as well at one point, so that's why I have to question, when he said he took his time on Mike Tyson, didn't want to hurt him, didn't want to knock him out, I'm not so sure about that.
What made this performance so compelling was Tyson's ability to adapt. He knew he couldn't rely on his old tactics, so he focused on pacing himself. It wasn't the Tyson fans were used to seeing, but it was still Tyson, a fighter who never quits, no matter the odds. Jake Paul, for his part, brought his A-game. He landed some solid shots, testing Tyson's chin and endurance, but no matter how hard he hit, Tyson kept coming. It was a reminder of why Tyson is a legend. He doesn't just fight with his fists, he fights with his heart. By the time the final bell rang, Tyson had gone 8 rounds with a man who had every physical advantage. He didn't get the win, but he won the respect of everyone watching. It was a performance that showed not just what Tyson was capable of, but what it means to fight like a warrior.
I'm sorry, yeah, but talk about bullshit. This fight, you're telling me that the one and only, one of the best boxers of all time, only threw 97 punches, and you're telling me this gimp threw 278? But not only that, you're going to tell me as well that Tyson only landed 18. Percentage of 18%. Do you know what? Yeah, if it was not even fair, if it was a fight that was actually legit, I would give this brother props. But it so wasn't. It so wasn't. Mike Tyson did not even open himself up at all. That was the most obvious paid-off rigged piece of shit going.
The allegations weren't baseless. Some fans pointed to moments during the fight where Tyson appeared to hold back. There were instances where he bit down on his gloves, seemingly hesitating to throw punches. For a man who built his career on aggression, this was out of character. Was Tyson instructed to limit his output? Did he agree to terms that prevented him from fighting at full capacity? These are questions that fans are still debating. Others argue that the low punch count was simply a result of Tyson's physical condition. Between his health issues, his knee injury, and his age, it's possible that Tyson was genuinely unable to throw more punches. His movements were slower, his reactions weren't as sharp, and his stamina wasn't what it used to be. For some, this explanation makes more sense than the idea of rigging. Jake Paul's role in all this hasn't gone unnoticed. Some fans accused him of exploiting the situation, knowing Tyson wasn't at his best. Others defended Paul, saying that he fought fairly and that the controversy was more about fan expectations than anything else. Regardless of where you stand, one thing is clear. This fight left a lot of unanswered questions.
What do you make of Jake's performance tonight?
Absolutely stupendous.
What did you think of Mike Tyson?
I love Uncle Mike. He's just such a, I mean, like, that was impressive, no?
Yeah.
For a 58-year-old. Hi, how are you? That was, yeah, he's like tough, proud of him. Weathered the storm with a young brute named Jake Paul. I think Jake let him live. I do.
Mike Tyson's post-fight retirement announcement hit fans hard. For years, Tyson had defied the odds, returning to the ring and reminding everyone why he was considered one of the greatest. But this time, it was different. In a tweet that quickly went viral, Tyson officially announced that this would be his last fight. His words carried a mix of gratitude, finality, and relief. "Thank you for the memories, but this is it for me. No more fights. Time to enjoy life." For many fans, this announcement was expected, but that didn't make it any easier to hear. Tyson has been synonymous with boxing for decades. Watching him step away from the sport felt like the end of an era. But as bittersweet as it was, there was also a sense of relief. Tyson had nothing left to prove. He had achieved everything there was to achieve in the sport. More importantly, it was clear that his health needed to come first. Tyson's retirement isn't just about him stepping away from the ring, it's about preserving his legacy. By choosing to walk away on his terms, Tyson ensured that his story would end on a high note. It's a decision that reflects his growth not just as a fighter, but as a person. And while it's hard to say goodbye, fans know that this isn't the end of Tyson's influence on the sport.
I didn't really watch it. I was in Katie's change room, she was getting stitched up. I watched the first 30 seconds, which were quite entertaining, and then afterwards, it was just horrible to watch. And that's, I just, like, did you enjoy watching most of that fight? The back, like, it was hard to watch.
The reactions to Tyson's final fight were as complex as the man himself. Fans had a lot to say, and their emotions ranged from heartbreak to admiration to outright anger. Some were furious at Jake Paul, accusing him of exploiting Tyson's weakened condition. They argued that Paul should never have taken the fight, knowing full well that Tyson wasn't at 100%. For these fans, the fight felt like a cheap attempt to add a big name to Paul's record. But for others, the fight wasn't about Jake Paul at all. It was about Tyson. These fans focused on Tyson's courage, resilience, and refusal to quit. They saw a man who had every reason to back out of the fight but chose to step into the ring anyway. For these fans, Tyson's performance wasn't just impressive, it was inspiring. He may not have won on the scorecards, but in their eyes, he proved once again why he's a legend. Perhaps the most telling reaction came from the boxing community itself. Fighters from all generations took to social media to pay their respects. From legends like Evander Holyfield and Lennox Lewis to modern stars like Canelo Alvarez and Tyson Fury, the messages were the same. Mike Tyson is, and always will be, one of the greatest to ever do it. This fight didn't tarnish Tyson's legacy. It added to it. It showed a side of him that fans hadn't seen before. This wasn't the invincible Tyson of the 1980s or even the controversial Tyson of the 2000s. This was a man who had faced unimaginable challenges and still found a way to fight. It was raw, it was real, and it was a reminder of why we love sports in the first place. Mike Tyson's fight against Jake Paul was more than just a boxing match. It was a moment that encapsulated everything Tyson represents: resilience, courage, and an unbreakable spirit. It showed us the highs and lows of being a legend, the physical and emotional toll of a life spent in the spotlight, and the undeniable power of sheer determination. But it also raised important questions. Should Tyson have taken this fight in the first place? Was Jake Paul's decision to go ahead with the match fair, given Tyson's health and age? And what does this fight say about the state of boxing today? These are questions that don't have easy answers, but they're worth asking. At the same time, retirement gives Tyson a chance to focus on his health and personal well-being. For a man who spent decades putting his body through the ringer, this is an opportunity to slow down and prioritize recovery. As we look ahead, one thing is clear: Mike Tyson's impact isn't confined to the ring. He's a larger-than-life figure whose story continues to resonate with people all over the world. Whether he's hosting a podcast, mentoring young fighters, or building his business empire, Tyson's journey is far from over. And if his past is any indication, whatever he does next will be just as extraordinary as what he's already accomplished. If you enjoyed, leave a like and subscribe. More videos are on screen now.